Sawyer County Public Safety Committee meeting to order. Can we do roll call, Madam Clerk?
Ron Buckholz,
Present.
Mark Helwig.
Here.
We're
Mark?
unmuted, but let's make sure.
I seen him just on there, so.
6A1
Here. You got me?
We're not muted. Mark, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, so he is muted. So speaker bridge,
You got me?
original sound. Why can't they hear us?
I don't have anything to say anyways.
He must have had a facelift. He looks different.
Oh, there you go. No, Mark, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay,
There we go.
all right, we're back. Jeff Haney, Marshall Savitsky, John Sorowski. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Number 3, Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, number 4, certification of compliance with open meeting law, Madam Clerk.
This meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
Okay, thank you. Number 5, the meeting agenda has been presented. So we're just gonna leave as is. Number 6, public comment. Is anyone here wishing to speak on public comment? And there ain't nobody online, right, Lynn? Okay, then we're gonna go on to number 7. Consider approval of the minutes from the previous meeting in July. So I need a motion to approve as presented.
I'd make that motion to approve the minutes.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Sorowski and a second by Mr. Savitsky to approve the meeting minutes of 7/3/24. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries to approve. Number 8, judges report. We have no judges here today again. Okay. We don't have no report. Number 9, clerk of court's office report. Marge sent out a report. Anybody have any questions with it? None? Mr. Helwig, you have any questions with it?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, number 10, Sheriff's Department report. Sheriff, you got something you want to talk to us about today?
I'll just start off by sharing Sunday. We received a call of a plane crash just before noon and responded with other agencies assisting in the county, and it ended up being a small plane, just the pilot in there, and ended up basically forcing the plane down after he lost power, left the landing gear up so that it would stop faster. Sounds like he was pretty knowledgeable on what he was doing and got the plane down on the ground and walked away safely. So for is what it could have been versus what it was, things worked out pretty good.
Good.
Was that a field or?
Yeah, he landed in a farm field, put it down in a farm field, was able to maneuver around the power lines and do what he had to do to get it down.
Sounds like he knew what he was doing.
Yes,
Which
Sounds
helped
like-
a lot, that.
yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions for the sheriff? Mr. Helwig?
Nope. Thank you.
Okay, number 8, patrol report. Lieutenant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And you see the attached patrol report, our call volume did increase a little bit to 770. So our 3 months trend shows that we are kind of up and down through May. We were very high, June dropped, but we're back for July. And it is also decreased from where we had 1,041 calls back in July of 23. For this period, we've issued 31 citations for traffic offenses, 24 written warnings, 8 non-traffic citations, and per community maps, there have been 16 total crashes, 7 with personal injuries with no additional fatalities, bringing our year to date to 191 crashes, 46 personal injury, and maintaining the 2 fatalities in recent months. We also took part with Sawyer County EMS in a 3-part generational training, which allowed staff to take a hands-on approach in dealing with different aspects of behavior, adult learning, and baby boomers to Gen X and beyond. We assisted with the Village of Winter for the July Jubilee celebration, a lot of other area fireworks, including Round Lake. We were able to get some nice pictures to post on our Facebook from that. Next up, we have National Night Out Tuesday, August 6th at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. at the Hayward Intermediate School. We have the Radisson Harvest Fest and Parade, August 10th and 11th. And finally, the 117th Sawyer County Fair, which will be in attendance. We also did hire a full-time deputy by the name of Mike Mayer, who was a 2-year part-time deputy and jailer with us for a few years here. So he has taken over a day shift position and is also assisting court services right now. That concludes my report.
Okay. All right, any questions for the lieutenant? Mr. Helwig, any questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thanks, Lieutenant. All right, number B, jail report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our average daily population for the month of July was 52.5 inmates. Currently, our population today is 60. We did experience a low in the upper 40s in mid-July, which I haven't seen since I've started here. In the jail, IT and Accurate Controls is working on updating the camera system, replacing all the cameras and adding additional cameras in blind spot areas. So that's a work in progress. In early May, the jail switched their contracted medical service provider. So the transition is going very well. And luckily, we were able to retain our jail nurse at 10 years, so she's now working for a different company. Yesterday, Lieutenant Wohler met with personnel from the LCO clinic regarding the continuation and administration of the MAT, which is the medication-assisted treatment for opioid use disorders. We have 6 inmates, LCO inmates that are currently in the program. So it was agreed that the clinic will come and actually give those medications to the inmates. Currently, we're giving those medications in pill form, and we want to switch to the injections. So LCO will come and give those injections once a month to those inmates that are currently enrolled in that program.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's all I have.
Anybody have any questions on the jail report? Mr. Helwig, you got any questions?
No, sir.
right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I see Judge Yackel is here now, so we're gonna back up to the judge's report so we can give a report. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry for being late. I was in court doing some paperwork. Judge Isham is in an all-day hearing. I really don't have much to report other than the fact that we're continuing to work on our backlog. I had spoken with, I think, the newspaper a week or two ago. They called me up and they were talking exactly about the reduction of the jail population and about the different reasons why that may be. And I guess I speculated on it. And I know that they said that they were working on the story and it might be a few weeks, but obviously those are numbers that we want to see and are good to see. I think there's a lot of credit to be spread around. Justice Point is, I think, working very well with respect to helping people try to find some resource to address their addiction. We've got although I don't think our recovery court is reflecting these numbers yet because that recovery court is time intensive and it takes a long period of time to really have the impact that you want. But what we've been doing is obviously the second judge in the second courtroom is having a tremendous impact on that, I think, because of the time it's taking to address some of these cases. We're still working through the backlog, but just the other day I was talking to both JAs and especially Anna, who has been there for the last 5.5 years. She's like, I can't even believe the time frame that we have to do things now and to address issues that come up where before it was, there's nothing we can do about it. We have to process as many things as we can. Now we're able to stop and say, hey, there's a mistake here, or there's a problem here. Let's address it rather than, if we have time, we'll be able to do it. And usually we didn't. So we're getting people through the system better. If they're in custody and they need an inpatient drug facility, we're quicker to modify bonds so that they're released, so they can go to treatment. And just the wait time to get back into court is dropping. But obviously, that's just part of it. There's also the justice point is the other big factor that I think is really having a positive impact. So hopefully it continues and we get that backlog continue to reduce. And I think we're seeing some signs of a healthy criminal justice system with the resources that we're starting to utilize. Thank you.
That's good, Your Honor. That's what we wanted all this for, the two judges to kind of speed this up instead of putting everything on backlog. So it sounds like it's gonna do what it's supposed to
Yeah,
do.
better than seeing the numbers go up.
Right.
If they were going up, I'd be like, I don't know why. So,
All right.
and I'm not going to be able to stay too long, but
Okay.
I did want to stop and
Yeah,
give my
I
report.
appreciate that. Mr. Sorolski, you got a question?
I just got
for
a
the judge?
question for the judge. Do you think possibly that unemployment rate seems to be slightly lower now than it was when we first started bringing it up? If that had anything to do with the reduction?
I'm not an economist, so I don't know, but I can tell you that a lot of people that come through when they're addicts and they've got drug crimes, there is a significant, I don't know, I wouldn't say a majority, but certainly a percentage of that population that is still working or that has jobs or that, the problem is that they seem to tend to be employed for a period of time and then not, and then period of time and then not. And then, and so there's I think probably the majority are not employed. But then there's a significant percentage that is employed trying, and it's generally for those people that are in addiction that are putting forth efforts to try to find their sobriety. They go out and they try to get a job, they try to get some normalization, but then the process of addiction, a lot of times they fail for a little bit, and then they stop. So, I know that there's a lot of places around town that are still desperately looking for work. And I get a lot of people that come through court that are not employed. So I don't know. That's a hard question. But there are positives to look at least in these numbers. It's not the only way to gauge if we're succeeding the jail population. But that's certainly, at least I would say, a bellwether, an indicator, at least generally speaking.
Okay. Mr. Helwig, you got any questions for the judge?
No, very good report, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
We really don't talk about this committee, we talk about other youth justice.
Andy,
Yeah,
Thank
sorry,
you.
Mark. We've talked about youth justice and HHS and CJCC is increasing kids being placed out. How's it, what are you thinking in the court with that?
Well, I think that is, and this is just my feeling. I don't know if it's actual, but since the start of branch 2 and at least on some level increase of judicial time, and then also with the kind of where the Department of Health and Human Services was a year or two ago, they've got a lot of new fresh faces down there and they're building that team together. I honestly don't know if it's an increase in, the need for CHIPS cases or juvenile delinquencies. It's probably that, and it's also that we've got a team down in Department of Health and Human Services that is now able to more look and be responsive to what is needed. And so those cases are increasing the number of juvenile delinquencies and CHIPS cases. But I think that also too is a result of having more judicial time, having, obviously maybe some more stability down in the Department of Health and Human Services to where we're starting to address problems. And so that's gone up, and I wouldn't look at that as saying, oh, geez, now all of a sudden we have this increase of juvenile delinquencies. I think that is more of a, we're all collectively as a group being able to now start addressing this more. And I think that's a good thing too. So,
Okay. Any more questions for him? All right, thank you, Judge.
thank you. I'm gonna take off. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you showing up. Thank you. Okay, number C, Communication Center and Emergency Management Report.
Thank you. I apologize for not having a report submitted. I was out of the office all last week, but we would like to congratulate Nicole Tritz on becoming the newest full-time hire with the Communication Center, as well as Michaela Kosterman as our newest part-time hire. They both, Nicole began her full-time position 2 weeks ago, and Michaela began her regular part-time position on Sunday. Our newest trainee just began her shift also this past weekend. We will be submitting today the PSAP grant for year 2025 and projects for the grant that was submitted last year for 2024 moving forward, as well as continued work towards our next gen 911 EZNet project. As Lieutenant said, our calls for service are up this month as from last month, and our CAD calls from last year are up as well, with a total number of calls year to date of 10,916. For emergency management, as Lieutenant said, our National Night Out is set for August 6th. There'll be free food provided and free deli bars donated by Dairy Queen. Sawyer County will be hosting emergency planning course, which will be set for October 2nd through October 3rd, held in the classroom of the Sheriff's Office. After that, there will be a workshop to be held for emergency planning with township and village leaders, including the discussion of implementation of an IMT team, which is an incident management team, which will help other entities develop our stronger emergency operations plans. We've also been working closely with public health as they set up their sheltering exercise to be held in September. And July's LEPC meeting was held at the Hayward High School. We plan to move the meetings to a new location quarterly around the county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Helwig?
No, sir, thank you.
All right, thank you, Deputy. All right, number D, Communication Systems Specialist Report and Radio Communication Systems Update. Who wants to handle that? Andy?
Yep.
Okay.
Just, I'm going to share my screen to give you an update of where we're at. So I kind of have my own working document now, and this is a little small. So things have been moving ahead, but probably a little slower than we had hoped. Let's see here. And this is very much a draft. I'm just trying to add things to it as we move along. So the focus this last month has been on two things. One has been vetting or doing the due diligence on option 2, specifically on Bug Tussle, which is the vendor that we could partner with to come in and they would put a fiber ring in and build tower sites that we would then use for our public safety network. So that's been the slow part. The other part that GenCom has focused on is determining if the WOJB tower, we know it's usable. We know it could cover a large portion of the county if we can put our equipment on there, but needed to determine what the tower could support, where it could support it. So they came up and flew a drone, I believe last week. I talked to Gary yesterday, and they've looked at the tower. They think they know the range of height that they can fit their equipment on and not be in the way of what's already on there. So has not got them to me yet, but they're going to be doing new coverage maps based on, I think he said 250 feet is the spot on the tower, putting the equipment on there, and then all the WOJB radio equipment is up higher than that and out of the way. So, and then the next step is current status, verifying the WOJB tower site for option 1, verifying the height, and working on the cost budget. Next step would be leases for the towers. Again, under option 1, we would need to lease the WOJB tower. And then also they proposed leasing a spot on the Mosaic Tower that's down by Birchwood. We've got a budget number for that, but we need to get the leases in place and then look at the full budget for option one. Nothing's changed there. Option one is build our towers, at least 2 towers. GenCom put an estimate together of 2.474. I'm rounding up to 2.75 and added 10%, roughly 10% contingency on that. Option 2 with the Bug Tussle building the tower network, our cost would be 1.5, but when I actually present this, it's going to be 1.75 because I just think we need to put contingency on top of that. As far as the vetting out of Bug Tussle, which is the timeline to get this decision made this month or that I talked about before, that's based on their bonding cycle. Fond du Lac County would issue the bonds. In your packet, there was an initial document that we received, so we put it in there. Since then, on Tuesday night, we received 15 documents that we have to review. So we do have Corp Counsel working on those. Atollas is working on it for us. It's Andy Phillips, that group. And they're actually representing, I think there's 9 counties that are working with Bug Tussle right now or talking to them. Let's see.
Andy, is anybody committed to Bug Tussle yet?
All of the counties listed in the intergovernmental agreement in your pack have passed the initial resolution. Taylor County passed the final one for them last week. The other ones are planning or looking at doing it this month. So Forest, Iowa, Jefferson, Lafayette, Marathon, Price, Sawyer, Taylor, and Waushara are the ones that are potentially part of this upcoming year or 2025. I would say there's been some issues getting the due diligence done just based on the flow of information coming from Bug Tussle. So, like I said, Atollas is representing us, Price County, Taylor County, Lafayette County for sure I know of. So they're reviewing the documents for us. Like I said, I didn't put them all in the pack because there's 15 of them. There's access agreements for the towers. There's guarantee documents, operating agreements. So we have that being worked on. There's a meeting at 3:00 this afternoon, though, that Atollas has arranged with Bug Tussle. Bug Tussle's attorneys, Quarles and Brady are on there, and all the counties to try to move this along so that the due diligence can be completed. So I don't know if all 9 would go along if we had to make a commitment today. I've talked to half of those counties, and everybody's got a little bit of frustration with being able to conduct the due diligence, because if we're going to extend our borrowing capacity for 16 million to this company and they're going to service that debt, but ultimately we're liable for it, we want to be in a little bit better, have a little more comfort that we know all the players, their financial stability. PMA, who's our financial counsel, is also working with Atollas to do a stress test on the company. So there's a lot of information to be flushed out yet. I mean, if you had to put me on the spot and say, should we do Bug Tussle today? I would say no. Like, there's just not enough there for us to jump in and do that.
Are you attending the meeting?
Yes, Mike and I both are.
Thank you.
It's a virtual meeting. Yeah, absolutely. So that's the other, from a timeline standpoint, that's the kind of the priority right now is to get through that. I have talked to a couple other counties that have gone with Bug Tussle previously and are in the middle of their projects. I have that information. Some of this, so like under next steps though, it looks like right now, as of right now, September 10th is the deadline where they want all the counties to have passed their final resolutions and commit to the project. Unfortunately, the calendar this year is not like all of our meetings are happening as early as they can this month. Like we're having this on the 1st, county boards on the 15th. So depending on how this goes, I guess in my head right now is at the 15th, county board meeting on August 15th. And I need to talk to the chair and vice chair about this, but to have GenCom and Bug Tussle make presentations on the radio network, like everything you've already heard, to make sure all the members of the board know the full project and talk about Bug Tussle. And then potentially we might have to have a special county board meeting before September 10th to make the decision on if we go with Bug Tussle or not. If we don't go with Bug Tussle on that option, we're in a good spot with GenCom to then to move forward on building our own tower, or making the pitch to the board to make our own towers. Either way, at some point, I need to get the board fully informed, because they're gonna need to make a decision on one of these options and on, are we doing this, period, you know? I think this committee is very supportive and knows the situation, but I don't know that all 15 members of the board know where we're at on this.
Well, my concern with Bug Tussle though is they can't reach out to Southern Sawyer County like what we want.
We've got that covered now.
You got that
Yeah,
covered now? Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, we've got either moving the Winter Tower location that they had proposed, and they're communicating with GenCom of where the initial tower sites that Bug Tussle proposed can be adjusted to get that full coverage in Southern Sawyer County.
Okay.
So that's like, we've already told them that's a deal breaker, that we need to have the full county covered. As
That's
GenCom.
always been one of my concerns. To make sure our EMS and our law enforcement and fire departments are safe out there. So
Right.
you gotta have communication, so.
Jumping on with Price County is not an option anymore?
That's still an option, but that's like the second or third option.
Okay.
First option is to adjust the Bug Tussle sites to get that coverage.
So that they can reach down into
Yep.
that far corner, yeah.
Yep, we know if there's an issue with that, we have two options down there. One is the Kimberly Clark site that Price County is planning,
Okay.
and that's contingent on Price County moving ahead, or the fire tower on W.
W&M?
Yep.
Yeah.
Would cover that as well.
That's,
Okay. Mr. Howie, you got any more questions?
No, thank you.
Mr. Haney? Okay. All right, thank you. Number E, code enforcement specialist.
Perfect. Okay. So for July, we saw a expected decrease in our revenue just as the, dog license continually decreasing and everything. We did see an increase in the amount of dogs that we had in the pound, with that being 50-50 with owners reclaiming them, or us having to transfer to NHS, the Humane Society. We did get a puppy into the pound as well, who actually we just adopted out to the intern at the city. So she took care of that puppy for us. We continue to see animals at large to be one of our top calls. And we also got a few donations this month. We got some puppy food, towels, puppy pads, that kind of stuff, which is always greatly appreciated from everyone. In regards to the dog pound facility itself, we continue to make improvements. We got a shed for more organization, ordered a new sink. We got a new sign that is coming hopefully soon. And then we'll be painting the inside here soon as well. In regards to zoning and public health, I continue to do letters and do on-site visits for zoning. And then I'm starting to draft letters for public health. And then I continue to attend the environmental health meetings every Friday. And then I meet with Jay, the zoning administrator, when needed for questions and to go over letters and stuff. So that's all I got.
Okay. All right, any questions for Chazak? Mr. Helwig?
No, sir, thank you.
I'm looking at your report here. It's very, very good. Thank you. So, all right, no more questions. We'll go to number 11, Child Support Department report. So not here, so you guys have the report. Any questions with that report? Okay. Number 12, Emergency Services.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, as you can see, our runs are considerably higher this year, especially for this month. The report's a little bit shorter right now, as in my whole new medical examiner stuff is coming online. We're moving from our forensic filer to this new CoHero site now that forensic filer is going to be shutting down. As you can see, we've had a higher number of calls in Hayward, the town of Hayward. Most of that is due to the increase in going back and forth from the nursing homes. There's been a big influx in the elderly getting COVID again. So there's a round of that going around, and we're doing a lot of transfers that way. So the city of Hayward is going to be increasingly higher due to those back and forths. I'm also, it's not in this report right now, I'm working on a draft because we've been getting a sudden increase in younger people with anxiety and breathing disorders. And looking into that, things that we're finding is that they're getting a lot more access to those Delta 8, the legal vape pens. If you ask me, I think it's kind of getting out of control, and I'm gonna start reaching out to public health and maybe start doing an awareness program on that. Because going back and seeing some of the calls that were just this weekend, we've had some pretty stressful for young people anxiety calls, and you know, without getting in too much detail, that it seems to be overuse of the Delta 8 vapes and gummies. Other than that, right now, that's all I have. If you guys have any questions.
I have one question, Mr. Fremmel. These out of county 39, is that transfers?
That's transfers and intercepts, but it's going to be mostly transfers because intercepts are, maybe one a month. So most of them are transfers. Our transfers are up. I met with the hospital. Once we get some more paramedics and we can guarantee an extra rig, they're going to be reaching out to us a lot more. We've been doing a lot more. A lot of my part-timers have been signing up this summer on what we call the power truck, so we're able to get those daytime transfers taken care of.
Okay, I have one other question. Ambulance service, is there any other ambulances that come into this county?
There's lots of other ambulances that can come into this county, whether we call them for mutual aid if we're like super busy, or like down in Edgewater, they contract still with Birchwood, and
Yes.
we still both go to that, and they assess the scene, and if the patient needs ALS, they keep us coming. If they can handle that, and the patient's okay with it, then they just take the patient. Whatever best for the patient's what we're working on.
So this one that says Edgewater 9, is that 9 response from Edgewater into Sawyer County?
That's 9. So
I mean from Birchwood, sorry.
well, I don't know if it's from Birchwood. I don't have their actual numbers.
Okay.
All these numbers are based on the reports that are written. So that would be a patient contact. Each one of these are a patient contact.
I guess what I'm wondering, Mr. Fremmel, if there's some way that we can get a report into your number of calls, say if Birchwood does come into Sawyer County, is there any way we can get that recorded?
That would,
Oh,
I wouldn't actually have that kind of access to that. That would be more of a dispatch.
Yeah, I can pull those reports if you're requesting them.
I am, yes.
Okay.
I forget I should be talking to you too when it comes to this, and I apologize for that, Deputy.
Yeah, because when Birchwood is responding to Edgewater, it's because we dispatched them to Edgewater.
Okay, yeah, and I would like to know that, this committee to know that. All right, thank you. All right. Anything else, Mr. Fremmel?
John, I want to clarify for the chair. You asked about ambulances coming into the county. That's the only one that comes in on a regular service. Anybody else coming in would be on mutual aid.
Yes.
So I know recently we had calls in winter where Russ County came up because we needed more than what we could handle.
So does that happen very often?
It doesn't happen often, but in the last like 3 weeks, we've had like 15 to 17 calls a day. And if the Ojibwa crew is out, each call is about 2.5 hours, because they're 40 miles from any hospital. So that's what ends up happening is we had Russ County come because Ojibwa couldn't get out of Spider Lake. They were just multiple back to back calls. So
So I guess, and Deputy Rapinski, if we could get that on a report to this committee with them ambulances coming in on an on-call thing to mutual aid.
We could, I don't know if our reports will show because we can't attach an out-of-county ambulance to our reports,
Okay,
but our CAD notes would say mutual aid was requested from another county, like Park Falls, Hawkins,
that would be fine.
Russ County.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And just, it rolls the other way too, because we had EMS training last week, week before, and the crew had to leave because they had to go to Washburn County for
Yep.
mutual aid.
I guess just so that this committee is getting to see all the calls that are getting dispatched wherever and however they are. So if we could get that on a report would be just great. Thank you. You have any more, Mr. Fremmel?
no, I mean, unless you want me to explain anything on the billing stuff, because the only thing about the billing that I really can talk about is that my goal for the billing side is to make sure that the reports get charged at ALS 1, which is going to is one of our higher rates when they do get billed. And as long as around 75 to 80% of the runs that we do are ALS 1, and from our last meeting, it seemed that with the new billing company that is going that way. Other than that, every month, me and Mike Margren and the billing company and Shayla, one of my billing clerks, we have a meeting just to go over everything, make sure everything's tracking accordingly.
Okay. All right. You guys have any questions on the billing?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Helwig.
John, how are you attributing the children's issue to Delta 8?
How do well, because a lot of them admit to it in the back when we talk to them. The other thing is when I did the EMR class last year, which I ended up getting an EMT out of that class, which is nice. But it was really prevalent in the school. I mean, a bunch of people were getting caught nonstop. I even had to catch somebody in my class, but and unfortunately, it seems that there's more people that have the vape pens than don't have it. And that's to include all walks. That's the popular people and the non-popular people. Everybody seems to be vaping. So, and you can definitely tell because it has a very strong, most of it has a very strong bubblegum smell. So, or some type of floral smell.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
All right. Any more questions for Mr. Fremmel? All right, number C, ambulance service area review. Andy, where are we at with that?
Honestly, in the last month, I've not done much with that. John and I have talked about the operational cost, and Deputy Rapinski's given us feed us call logs that we can start mapping the calls, and then we have GIS working on that.
Okay.
That's part of it. Initially, is to show where the call volume is located in proximity to the requested spot out in town around Lake.
Okay. All right, so we can just keep that on
Yep.
the agenda for the committee's updates.
Right.
All right. Any questions on that? Okay, number 13, Criminal Justice Coordinating Council update.
Yeah, I don't have, I think the judge probably laid out as much as we've talked about in CJCC. Specific to the MOU, we have received zero communication from LCO as to where they're at with,
Okay, so
Wanting
this is
to-
just discussion then.
yeah, I mean, we were hoping that prior to the meeting, we'd actually get that.
Okay.
We have not had any updates in the last month as to any, whether they want to renew it or we had heard language changes or
Okay,
updates to the MOU and we haven't seen those either.
okay. Any questions on that? Okay, all right. Number 14, outside committee updates. You guys got anything on outside committees that pertains to this?
You guys stuck me on that ad hoc committee for the short-term rentals. Is there, do we have any numbers on like, is there an increase on people, tourists coming up here and renting these homes? I know there's probably not a way for dispatch to track it, I guess, but I guess I'm wondering, how many calls a year do we take on short-term rental houses that people are getting through VRBO or Airbnb? I don't know if there's a way to track that or if you're seeing influx in that, Nicole.
So when I talked to public health about it, we had discussed a way for dispatch to be alerted to a VRBO or short-term housing, but we haven't compiled a list or haven't received a list yet. But we are looking into if that becomes an issue, because we don't know if we're being sent to calls at those houses or not.
It's kind of hard to determine, I'm
Okay.
sure.
And they didn't
Which
want to put
ones
a
are-
sign on the house that said this is a VRBO for security reasons,
Yeah.
so we have talked about it though.
Any comments?
No, I was just gonna kind of say the same thing. I mean, what we've heard from a year or two ago when we started talking about needing to look at this was more anecdotal comments from the department that they're getting out to houses with property disputes, fireworks, noise complaints, things you hear about, but like Deputy said, there's really not a database to log those in. We've talked about that in the ad hoc last time, one about the signage so that the neighbors and deputies, when they arrive, would realize it's a short-term rental. The other is something within our GIS system that would map all of these, put dots on a map basically for all the short-term rentals that are licensed. So when complaints come in, they could be somehow logged that way. And that's what she's talked to public health about.
Okay, all right. Then we can keep updated on that as it comes available then, Deputy. Appreciate it. Good man, Marshall. I don't care what they say, will you? Okay, any more outside committee updates? I don't have any. All right, the future agenda items other than ambulance service, stays on the agenda, Lynn. You guys got anything you want on the agenda? Forever ignore older piece. Okay. All right, correspondence reports from conferences and meetings. I have none. Number 17, I want to thank everybody and everybody be safe out there. We are adjourned.